Okay, I want to talk about something that is currently really impacting me, and I'm sure it has been or is impacting a lot of women out there, or at least a lot of women with newborn babies out there. So, I just had a baby, and her name is Oriah, and she's actually a little bit over a week old. She's beautiful, she's amazing, and somewhere in between feeding, pumping, and constant diaper changes, I went and I opened social media and I scrolled for a few minutes. And you know, that dang algorithm, it will just feed you things and it just like knows that I have a newborn baby and I'm in the newborn stage. So the algorithm dug into that and it was sending me lots of videos and reels of mothers in the newborn stage, videos that these mothers have posted of these peaceful, beautiful morning routines. Yes, that's right. I said peaceful newborn morning routines are on these videos that I've opened. And I don't know about you, but I can tell you that I have not had a single peaceful morning routine since I gave birth to my baby. Honestly, I don't think I've had a single peaceful morning routine since I had my first child 11 years ago, let alone my third child who I just had a little bit over a week ago. But that's neither here and there. So I just kept scrolling and I kept seeing these newborn moms just looking flawless, making the newborn stage look easy and effortless, giving advice on if you just do this or you do it this way, then basically you'll have it made. And I'm thinking to myself while sitting here with my 1 week old baby postpartum, baby number 3, what the heck? And I felt myself say, what am I doing wrong? I literally look like I haven't slept in days because I haven't. I had spit up all over my shirt when I was looking at these videos. I hadn't brushed my hair in days, so it looked like a frizzy mess compared to these other moms that just make it look effortless and perfect. What the heck am I doing wrong is what I thought and said, because I'm literally over here on the struggle bus fighting to survive the lack of sleep, the bloody nipples, the constant diaper changes and feeding needs of my newborn baby. And so I say it again to myself, looking at these perfect looking newborn moms, saying to myself, what is wrong with me? I should have it together better than this. Just look. But I'm literally struggling. My life doesn't look anything like theirs. And going down that spiral, I decided to remove myself from social media for a little bit because it wasn't helpful for me. Because I honestly think every mom of a newborn struggles. Every mom struggles. How could they not? We are caring for these tiny little humans while also still having other duties in life, but caring for these tiny little humans that are 100% dependent on us for everything. They have to eat, they have to poop, they have needs, they have cares, and we are the one that has to care for them, to take care of it. And the problem with turning to social media as a reprieve or a way to kind of build community, the fact is that you're going to be faced with seeing these perfectly curated situations that people want you to see, like that perfect nursery setup, that perfect household, that perfect newborn morning routine. And although maybe some of that perfection that they're showing may be true, it's not helpful. See, there's my baby. He's probably nude. Hang on, hold on, Mama. And although maybe some of that perfection that they're showing, some of it may be true, it's still not helpful for women who are struggling in this phase and who need community and who are already feel isolated and alone. It is not helpful. And seeing these type of posts can cause more intense feelings of isolation, of guilt, of shame. Because most of us moms, especially newborn moms, reality is messy. It's exhausting. And the newborn stage just does not align with the curated perfection that can be found all over social media. I mean, I couldn't even make it through this video without my newborn crying and me having to pick her up and soothe her and feed her and change her diaper. And for me, someone who has done this twice before, and as a counselor who understands exactly what's happening mentally and psychologically when I watched that video, it got me. And it had me questioning myself. It had me questioning, what am I doing wrong? So let's talk about it. And this video isn't about sitting here and calling people out and continuously stating the obvious about these social media influencers and the fact that they're just posting these curated versions of their life, which does have some truth to it, but that's not really what this video is about. Because there's already tons of those videos out there all over social media, all over YouTube, that are entertaining and they're fun to watch and they can be funny. But for me, it's not really about the entertainment. I am a curious person and I want to try to understand. And because I want to understand, it always leads me to going a little bit deeper, to asking the tough question. So in this video, I'm not just here trying to entertain you, I'm trying to educate you. So I want us to examine and talk about why content like this even exists in the first place and the effects that this type of content has on people and why it causes people, even people like me who should logically know better, especially since I'm educated and I have experience and I have the language and I know the mental and psychological components of mental health and behavior, why it still impacts people like me, people like you, all of us. I also want to talk about what is actually happening in my body and brain and in other newborn moms' bodies and brains while sitting here comparing my real life and their real life to someone's edited, curated 30-second highlight reel of their life. So let's go deeper than these TikTok videos and try to dig into what happens to a woman's nervous system, but really what happens more to a newborn mom's nervous system. When we feel shame or guilt by the algorithm, by the culture, and by our own fear to be seen struggling, to be seen in the trenches, those hard, dark truths of the not so cute glam trenches of newborn motherhood. Okay, let's talk about the actual content first. So if you're watching this and you haven't had the opportunity to run across this type of content that I'm referring to, then let me catch you up on it a little bit first. So anyways, from what I've had the pleasure of seeing, it's almost like every video is set up in a way that starts out with soft, warm lighting, hitting the newborn face at the exact right angle. The mom is usually wearing a cute pajama. The baby's usually all dressed up nice and cozy and maybe in a swaddle. And it's almost like every video the baby just seems maybe a little energetic and enthusiastic in a way where the mom's doing sweet talking to the baby and kisses, which I do all the time as well. But that usually doesn't happen at our first wake up in the middle of the night or the wee morning hours, because we have already been up 3 or 4 times, maybe even 5 times throughout the night. So that first actual morning wake up in the 5, 6, or 7 a.m. hours, we are still fighting to survive to make it through it, because it's tough, because literally I'm running on maybe, if I'm lucky, 3 hours of sleep. But let's continue on. In these videos, the baby's stretching peacefully, like they slept through the night at 2 weeks old. And I don't see any spit up on the mom or the baby. And in some of these videos, the baby may be crying, but nothing like you see in real life, where the mom is like fighting just to pull herself out of bed and the baby's just mad, hungry, and crying so loud that you're just trying to do your best in those moments to get the baby fed and to try to calm the baby down. I don't think I've seen a single video like that. And if I were to shoot a morning routine video in the morning with my newborn baby, it would look a lot like The Hunger Games or something where we are just fighting to survive these stages with lack of sleep and constant wake ups and diaper changes. And saying that out loud doesn't mean that I regret it. It doesn't mean that I don't love my baby. I love my baby something fierce. And it doesn't mean that I'm not a great mom. It just means that I'm a mom with a newborn child and that these stages of care are tough. That's it. That's what it means. But let's get back to these perfect newborn stage videos. I never see diaper blowouts that reaches the middle of the baby's back 5 minutes after the mom has put on a fresh diaper outfit. You know how many times that's already happened to me? She's a little over a week old. And trust me, it happens all the time. And then the caption of these videos, they always say something like slow morning with newborn or peaceful night routine or a day in the life at 3 weeks postpartum. Just like it's like a beautiful, effortless day and time. And here's the thing with these videos. It's not like these moms are lying, because there are these beautiful moments where the baby's calm for 5 seconds, or where you didn't wake up and you have spit up all over you. There are moments where mom actually gets a diaper change and without getting all peed all over or having to change massive blowouts. There are these moments. They do happen. But that's a problem with these videos, is that everything around these moments are missing. And it makes it feel like these moments that they are sharing are what the whole entire phase and stage looks like. The moments that it took to get that baby to stop crying right before they hit record, or the moments where you changed that outfit and the baby threw up all over the new outfit that you put her on, or that you had the blowout and the baby, you had to put another outfit on the blowout. Those moments where the burp cloths are on every surface of the house because you know the baby's going to spit up and throw up. It's going to happen several times throughout your day. Those moments, they're not there in those videos. You don't see them, but that's the reality of the newborn mom stage. So remember that you're not seeing a whole picture when you're watching these videos. You're not seeing all of the moments, the hard moments, the before and after moments. You're just seeing the curated snippet moments. So what you're seeing is incomplete. And the reason that I'm mentioning this is because I want us to talk about the psychological story behind creating these curated moments for the audience and for the world to see. And if you watch long enough, or if you watch enough of these videos, every once in a while, you'll find one that's raw and honest, where the creator will admit that life off the camera is not always lollipops and rainbows. An example of one that I found. The creator did a whole day in the life at 3 weeks postpartum, where she got her lashes done, she got her nail extensions, wearing the matching sweatpants set, and then the video kind of just trails off almost randomly. And the creator basically admits that she forgot the camera was still on, that the camera was still rolling. And when she comes back later on camera, she says basically, I'm 3 weeks postpartum, I don't have brain cells that work anymore, and I forgot that I was filming. Yeah, it's because 3 weeks postpartum, you're not functioning at the same logical speed as you are 2 years after having the baby. Your body, your mind is literally in survival mode, just trying to get through the endless sleepless nights and the diaper changes and the vomit and the spit up and the blowouts and all of the things newborn related. And it's not pretty and it is not easy. So when she showed that moment on camera, that's the moment that I actually believed her, because experience and education has taught me to not believe in the curated videos or shots before that raw, honest moment that creator showed. But the crazy part is what happened after the video. What happened after that moment in that raw, honest crack of a moment in that video, which is the fact that the following videos didn't continue to show the raw honesty of the newborn mom stage. It didn't become a situation where the creator made videos on things like, let me tell you what 3 weeks postpartum with the newborn is actually like. It just got switched back to the regular scheduled program of newborn bliss. And the truth is that social media algorithm does not reward that slip. It doesn't reward those honest 30 seconds. It rewards what gets views. And those flawless newborn bliss moments is what gets views, even when the truth occasionally leaks through. Since there is no incentive to continue displaying the real and raw, then there's no incentive to stay there in that vulnerability that these newborn moms feel. So then the creator goes right back to the aesthetic and curated moments every single time. I mean, how many times have you seen one of these videos where you wish your life looked like that, or where you watched the whole thing because you thought the ideal or dream life would be that you would want that life that they're displaying and showing? It's hard not to get pulled in to the curated versions of people's lives. But the part that actually matters to me is the fact that I'm almost 2 weeks postpartum with my third baby. So when I'm logging into social media and seeing these posts, I'm not just scrolling through as an unimpacted, unaffected, neutral bystander. I'm scrolling through these feeds as someone who is currently in the trenches of the newborn stage, a stage that isn't always pretty and pitch perfect, a stage that isn't easy, a stage that the algorithm has already decided is not worth showing the real, honest, the weight of that role. The newborn stage is a beautiful stage. It's a bonding stage. It's a vulnerable stage. It's a raw stage. It's also a hard stage. It's a stage that requires strength and grit and help. It's a stage where you will have meltdowns and breakdowns. It's hard. It's a stage with severe sleep deprivation, a stage where your body is recovering from carrying a baby and giving birth to a baby, a stage where you have drastic hormonal drops, and a stage where you have 24-hour demand cycles from a fragile baby who cannot communicate their needs in any other way except crying. It's an intense stage where you are literally in survival mode. And I want to continue to be honest with you instead of just doing this commentary stuff that I'm doing in this video. So like I said before in this video, this is my third pregnancy. This is my third delivery. This is my third child. This is my third time doing all the things motherhood related. And it hasn't made it any easier just because it's my third. Yes, I am more educated and actually know it is going to be hard, but knowing and experience are two vastly different things because every child is different. Every pregnancy is different. And honestly, with this pregnancy, I have dealt with a lot of anxiety that I didn't have during my first two pregnancies. And if I am to just step back and think about it, I recognize that some of it was just logistics, meaning that having 3 kids is not the same as having just 1 or 2. But having multiple children is not really where my anxiety lied. I carried a specific, very targeted fear and anxiety, especially towards the end of my pregnancy. I carried the fear of knowing exactly what was coming, of what I was in for, because I'd lived the newborn stage twice already. And like I said, every child is different, but there's always still similarities with being a newborn mom. So I knew and already experienced the cluster feeding, the pain of having a C-section, while also pushing through the pain to care for my newborn baby. The hardship of the bassinet transfers that fell 4 times in a row, and you just continuously have to pick the baby up, smooth the baby, and then try again, just to put them back in the best bassinet and try the transfer again, knowing that it might fail again. I knew what I was in for. I knew I was in for days where I won't be able to shower, where there's going to be constant crying that I feel like doesn't have a findable reason to just calm and soothe. And I just push through it and continuously try to soothe the baby. I wasn't walking into the newborn stage blind, not this time at least. And yet, in the thick of it, in the midst of it, I still have spent several nights before the birth, during these first couple of weeks, lying there with my heart going, convinced that this time was going to be the time that breaks me, that there is no way I'm going to make it through it. And as a counselor, I know that's just cognitive distortions that I'm experiencing. I know my fear and anxiety is not rational, not exactly, but I can tell you that that fear, that anxiety was still very real. Even though logically and rationally, I know it's not real. Physically, you couldn't tell me it wasn't. I felt the anxiety in my chest and my heart and my body. I felt the fear. So physically, you couldn't tell me that these are cognitive distortions and they're not rational. And because of this, I want to talk about what is actually happening psychologically and physically underneath the anxiety and fear, because there's a whole lot more happening than just I was anxious in those moments or you are anxious in those moments. But first, let's talk about the women making this type of content. And what I mean is I want to pull us, and what I mean is I want to talk about why and how this content is created in order to help neutralize the toxic effects that it can have on people, especially these newborn moms. I want to do this in hopes that it removes the power it has on people. And by power, I mean that invisible psychological hold and emotional control that this curated, idealized content has over the viewer, that it had over me. So there's a sociologist, Sharon Hayes, and she has a term for this, which is intensive mothering ideology. And if you're not familiar with Sharon Hayes and her work on the intensive mother ideology, basically the ideology is a highly demanding, socially constructed belief system that dictates that a good mother must devote an extraordinary amount of time, energy, and resources to raising her children. So basically, the cultural rule is that a good mother is completely child-centered, that she is endlessly available, that she is never visibly struggling. And underneath that rule, if they were to say it out loud, that the newborn stage is brutal and it's hard, then it isn't viewed as the correct way to mother. And when a struggling mother views this content, she can internalize the pressure of this ideology, believing that if she cannot meet these impossible, contradictory standards of this picture-perfect motherhood, then she is inherently failing as a mother. This is some real ideology. This was coined and created. And because of this ideology and the societal pressures, I don't think these women are logging on here trying to perform for us. I don't think they are doing it for vanity reasons. I think they are trying to protect themselves in a way and show that they are not failing at this motherhood thing, that they are meeting these society standards when it comes to motherhood, that they're doing it, that they are this good mother. And in psychology, what runs hand to hand with this is what we call reaction formation. And basically, reaction formation is a defense mechanism where a feeling that's too threatening or too anxiety-inducing to sit with gets flipped into the exact opposite. So in this type of content, this type of pitch perfect newborn stage on social media content, a reaction formation occurs when the mother posting is actually experiencing these intense, maybe culturally unaccepted feelings, such as exhaustion or resentment, grief of her old life, postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety. And in order to cope with this, she turns to social media and displays the exact opposite of those things, which is almost like this picture perfect content of an over exaggerated performance of effortless bliss, of absolute control, of aesthetic perfection. And this peaceful night routine that these content creators are posting might not even be a conscious lie because of that. Instead, what it could be is the nervous system feeling like it is trying to find safety. And because of that, it can't afford to film the truth, the hard, the real, the raw truth. And then there's the self-discrepancy theory in psychology that was coined by psychologist Troy Higgins, that basically talks about the distress that comes from the gap between your actual self and the self you think you're supposed to be. And in the context of the postpartum period and newborn mom stage, social media serves as a massive amplifier in these discrepancies. So the self-discrepancy theory identifies 3 specific selves, which actually perfectly maps into the struggle of the new mother trying to meet these intensive societal standards, which is the mother's actual self, which is the reality of the mother's current state, the fact that she is exhausted, wearing milk-stained clothes, healing physically, feeling anxious, and sitting in a messy house. And then there's the mother's ideal self, which is the mother's personal hopes, wishes, and aspirations. She wants to be a peaceful, glowing mom who gracefully glides through the newborn phase while maintaining her personal identity. Then there's the mother's ought self, which is the mother's representation of her duties, obligations, and societal expectations. This is tied back into the intensive mothering ideology, which is the mother displays this newborn stage as this aesthetic lifestyle. It dictates that the ought to have an immaculate nursery, a perfectly managed schedule, a serene disposition, a pristine experience. That's what that self is about. So the newborn mother posting this type of content, even though it's for only 30 seconds, it helps kind of close that gap for them. But from the inside, it's not a relief. And it's not really deception on their part either. It's just them trying to do something to self-soothe. But really, aside from these theories and how they tie into the pitch perfect newborn content, is the structural piece of it all. And this piece has nothing to do with psychology. It's not psychological or emotional. It's just the algorithm itself. In all reality, the content that's calm and pretty and resolved, it performs well. Unlike the content of a woman crying on a couch in the middle of the night without sleep. That was me last night, by the way. This type of content doesn't get the same reach. And it's harder to even make when you're drowning in it. So the feed isn't lying. Well, I wouldn't say it's exactly not lying or lying. It's just showing a heavily filtered clip of a mother's newborn life of seconds out of a 24-hour day. So now that we've talked about the mothers creating and performing this content, let's talk about the ones watching the content at 3 a.m. with a baby who won't settle down and go to sleep. There's something to that we counselors call upward social comparison. And it's exactly what it sounds like. And it can be damaging because we don't watch this content neutrally. Instead, we measure ourselves against the content. We compare our unfiltered worst hour to someone else's edited best 30 seconds of their day. And when we do that, we never, ever, ever, ever mentally win. We lose to that comparison every single time because it's not fair. It's not an equal playing field, and it was never designed to be one. And the part that worries me the most, honestly, as someone who is back in the thick of this, is the fact that when a struggling mom, one like me, who is fighting for survival in these moments, watches this flawless postpartum videos, the thoughts that come fleeting in your mind is never, let me logically think about this. Let me check these thoughts and create maybe some alternative thoughts, like us counselors like to do. Thoughts like, maybe this mother has this flawless morning newborn routine because maybe she has a night nurse and she's able to sleep through the night. So of course she's going to have a flawless routine because she got her full nights of sleep. Maybe she has a cleaner, or maybe she has a mom staying over helping her out. Or maybe this was her sixth take to get this picture perfect moment. None of these thoughts come at that time. Usually the thought that shows up is something is wrong with me. I suck at this. What am I doing wrong? Why doesn't my life look like that? Why isn't my newborn stage like that one? And I can tell you that I have had those thoughts, even this time, even with baby number 3, even after doing it twice already, knowing the reality of it, even knowing better on paper, even as a counselor, after having experience in education. That's how strong this pull of comparison is. And I want to talk about something that I haven't really heard in any of these conversations about the newborn mother phase, or in any of these commentaries about calling out these women, which is a term called matrescence, which was coined by anthropologist Dana Raphael back in 1970s, and then later expanded on by another psychologist. Basically, this term refers to the psychological, emotional, and physical transition of becoming a mother. It talks about the developmental phase just as chaotic and disorienting as much as the adolescent phase is. It talks about the fact that becoming a mother is not a single linear event, that mothers undergo a total dismantling and rebuilding of her identity, body, hormones, and social status. And the mother's old self, it does not hand over the reins to this new identity shift quietly. And this shift is not only psychological. The research out of the Nature neuroscience states that pregnancy actually restructures the brain, that there are measurable reductions in gray matter across roughly 90% of the brain. And the changes are still detectable even 2 years postpartum. And the brain is not damaged during this stage. It just looks like targeted remodeling of the brain. Like the brain is fine-tuning itself for caregiving, for attachment, for threat detection, aimed at a completely helpless human being. And then on top of that, you got the hormonal changes that occur right after birth, the changes in a woman's estrogen and progesterone, which the newborn mom just spent 9 months climbing through. They just crush within days. And then there's the oxytocin that are also doing the same thing on a separate note. It's this whole disorienting dance that's happening in the brain, the body of a newborn mom's body. So the body is just doing a whole lot all at once in a very short period of time. So when I say the anxiety that I dealt with this time around felt bigger than just thinking about the fact that I'm going to be tired, I literally mean that, because my brain was at the exact moment being physically rewired for a person who didn't even exist yet. And how could that not be disorienting? And of course, a golden hour video of a stranger's spotless nursery is going to hit a nerve deep inside of me, because my whole nervous system is literally in mid-renovation. But let's zoom out a little bit and take it all in, because honestly, I think the women posting the content and the new mom watching it are both struggling in different ways, but it really does tie together. So let's talk about that for a minute. So you have the mother who posts the picture perfect morning newborn routine with a spotless nursery and a baby that just seems to transition to sleep effortlessly. And then she posts this because admitting that the newborn motherhood stage is hard can feel like she is admitting that she's failing at a job where society tells her that she is not allowed to fail at. That motherhood is supposed to be this non-complaint, beautiful, effortless thing that you're just supposed to be natural and good at. Then you have a mother who's scrolling through social media at 3 a.m. and sees this content and believes that this right here is proof, this effortless version of motherhood, that it's what it's supposed to look like. And it doesn't look like that for her. And she takes that as proof that something is wrong with her. But in all honesty, that comparison was never fair to even begin with. So what I see is two different women both struggling in the newborn stage of motherhood, but coping with that struggle in different ways. I also see the fact that underneath the surface level with both of these women is what the brain and the hormonal system just went through. And it went through the most abrupt and severe physical rewiring that any human will ever experience. A rewiring that can make trying to control the narrative or thoughts feel like the only available form of emotional safety. So they grasp on it and they try to control it. And what I mean by control is that when you feel like physically you feel like your life is chaotic and out of your hands, then your mind and your body will grab onto whatever it can actually control. And for those content creators, that can be this aesthetic, the routine, the narrative. And for a mom scrolling, it's the comparison to these content creators. It's the checklist, the spiral of what am I doing wrong? And both of these situations really have nothing to do with the aesthetic or the pitch perfect nursery. They are both about these mothers' nervous system trying to grasp for security when everything in their life can feel like it's just spiraling out of control. And I think that's why this type of content bothers me so much, because I am someone who knows better on paper. I mean, I'm a counselor, for crying out loud. But knowing the process and what's happening doesn't stop an activated nervous system. Knowing really just means that I can name what's happening instead of believing it. But I got to do the work to help regulate my nervous system. There has to be more steps. It's not just knowing, it's also doing. So if you're pregnant right now and you're scared or anxious, I want you to know that the fear or the anxiety that you're feeling isn't a sign that you're not ready for this stage. Because in all actuality, feelings are not indicators that you shouldn't do something or that you're not ready for something. They're just warnings that your body and your mind feels some kind of way about what you're feeling or about what you're about to face. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't face it. Hopefully that makes sense. But basically what I'm trying to say is that emotions and feelings are just physical and mental alerts. They are not big red stop signs. That fear or anxiety or doubt does not mean that you should quit or that you are not ready. It only means that you are facing a big challenge. And motherhood or the newborn stage is a huge challenge. But you can still choose to have the ability to move forward and do an amazing job during the newborn stage, even if it's nowhere near perfect, even when you feel scared or unsure, even when it's hard, even when you're in the middle of a 3 a.m. wake up and you're crying just to get out of bed, you could still do it. Even when you feel unsure, even when you feel anxious, even when you feel defeated, you've got this. So I'm here to tell you that if you're in the newborn stage like me right now, that this stage, it does not look like a friggin' Pottery Barn ad. And just because it doesn't look like that does not mean that you are failing at it and that you are not doing a great job. That it just means that you're trying to survive and that you're in survival mode like every single newborn mom is in. Your baby doesn't need a perfectly put together mom in a curated picture perfect moment to be happy and to be healthy and to be thriving. All you really need to do is show up and try to be regulated most of the time and to try to do your best. D.W. Winnicott actually coined a phrase called the good enough mother decades ago, which in my opinion is more relevant and true than any parenting psychology that has come before and after it. And if you're watching this and you're one of the moms making the calm, pretty newborn videos, I want you to know it's not needed. It's not going to change the hardness of the newborn phase or the motherhood. All you're doing is making people feel more alone and isolated and guilty in the motherhood phase of their life. And I get the algorithm has taught you that this is what works and what it likes and it comments and what gets likes and comments. But we live in the reality of real life and not the curated version of social media. I just wish the algorithm would reward the true 23 hours and 59 minutes as much as it rewards the 30 seconds that you posted that on social media. I wish it would reward the real and the raw, because that's really what helps everyone feel less alone in this stage. Okay, now I want to ask you, who is watching this video, something. In your life right now, is there something that you feel the need to have to manage or to control instead of just allowing yourself to feel your feelings? Something like maybe your body and the way you look, or your house and how put together it looks, or your baby's schedule, or how put together you look to the outside world. And if so, are you trying to manage and control the thing or things because maybe you learned along the way somewhere in your life that you have to hold it together because no one else will? Maybe that's you. And as a mother who happens to be a counselor, what I see underneath all of these curated moments behind the algorithm and through my own 3 a.m. spiral with baby number 3 is just how exhausting it is to be your own safety net, to be your own source of emotional safety, to be the one who has to stay vigilant and try to notice everything all the time, to try to manage everything, to try to hold everything together, while a curated version of someone else's morning tells you that this life and stage is supposed to look effortless. Motherhood and the newborn phase, and really just life in general, it doesn't have to look effortless because it was never ever intended to be effortless. So if you're the one in your friend group who is always holding it together for everyone else, or if you're the one scrolling at 3 a.m. with a baby on you, sitting there wondering what you're doing wrong when the answer is probably nothing, or if you feel like you need to have control over your body or your house or your story, that it has to quietly become the only place you feel like you have some sense of control, then I want you to know that you are not alone. And just because you're feeling this way, it doesn't mean that something is wrong with you or that you're failing at anything in life. It just probably means that somewhere along the way in your life, your nervous system learned to survive and what it needed to do to survive before you learned that it was okay to rest and to just be. And honestly, see, that is the first step into implementing real change in your life. Because no matter how many routines that you feel that you need to implement, it won't regulate a dysregulated nervous system. But gaining some emotional wealth will. Naming what's actually happening underneath the comparison instead of just white knuckling through it will. So if any part of this video, the managing, the vigilance, the exhaustion of always being the one holding it together felt a little too familiar to you, then I want you to know that it's not something that you have to carry alone. And it's definitely not something you have to keep proving that you can handle all by yourself. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.